Miss West. We are doing the Pythagorean Theorem again, part 2. This time we are using the Pythagorean Theorem that we already previously learned about. So, please remember to write absolutely everything that is typed or written. You don't actually have to write this word planner. That shouldn't be there. Okay, so be sure to write your learning goal down. Students will be able to use the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay? Pause this video at any time that you need to slow things down or write things down. Okay, this is just a review. We already wrote this down previously. You do not have to write this down again, but just so you remember, okay, what you really need to know is that C is the hypotenuse and the longest side. This is our hypotenuse, okay? And A and B are the L shape of the right angle. And A squared plus B squared equals C squared. If you need to refer back to your notes previously in the previous lesson, you can do that. All right, now we are using what we have learned. We are using the A squared plus B squared equals C squared to solve these problems. So it says a party hat is in the shape of a cone with dimensions shown. Find the height of the hat, round to the nearest tenth. You'll notice in this problem it does not say use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for the missing angle. For the missing side length, okay? It doesn't say these words. What it says is find the height of the hat. So we need to find the height of this, okay. Can't draw a straight line here. Find the height of this hat, okay? And you'll notice that the height of the hat is one of the side lengths, one of the lengths that makes the L shape of your right angle. So remember, that's either your A or your B. It doesn't matter which one, because A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And the analogy I use is like 2 plus 3 equals 5. That is the same as saying 3 plus 2 equals 5. You can switch whatever you're adding, and it does not change the value of that answer. Okay, so we are going to plug these numbers in. Remember, we're looking for that missing side length. Okay, so we have A squared plus 4.3 squared equals 10 squared. Now we're going to move on to multiplying out to figure out what 4.3 squared is. So 4.3 times 4.3 is 18.49. So I'm going to write that right underneath this. We need to bring down our A squared. And 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is 100. Now we need to get A squared by itself, so we need to get rid of the 18 and 49 hundredths. So we're going to subtract that from both sides. Make sure you do this part in your calendar. Make sure you do this part in your calculator, and if you don't, be sure to line up your decimals, okay? Your decimals always go at the back of your whole number, so make sure you line up your decimals when you are adding or subtracting them. So I'm going to do this in my calculator. 100 minus 18 and 49 hundredths, and I get 81 and 51 hundredths. Okay, so now I need to take the square root of 81 and 51 hundredths. If you have one of these phones, remember that you're just going to press the square root button. Okay, and it should give you a really nice long number like this. It does say to round to the nearest tenth. So if we have a big long number, like this, you are looking at the tens place, and to do that, you're having to look at the number behind it. That 2 is not enough to bump that 0 up, so it's going to stay the same. So the height, so A is equal to 9, and you can put 9.0, but 9.0 is the same thing as 9. And we are dealing with inches here, so it's going to be 9 inches. Okay, that's all I do for that problem. We've got 2 more to go. Okay, Larry wants to go from his house to his grandmother's house. How much distance is saved if he takes Main Street instead of Market and Exchange? So there's two things we need to do here. The first thing is we need to find our missing link, okay, which is our A or our B, one of the two, okay? We need to find this piece here. And then the second thing we need to do is we need to subtract it from 5 and to subtract 3 from 5 and see how much that is total. I'll explain that second part more in a minute. I think I might have just confused myself. Okay, so let's do one step at a time. All right. I'm a bad multitasker in case you didn't know. Okay, so here's our triangle. I like to rewrite it just because sometimes in the pictures they can add extra words and phrases and lines and it can get a little bit confusing. So I just like to rewrite it off to the side. Okay, so we've got a 3, a 5, and we don't know. So remember, we're still using the same formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is the Pythagorean theorem right here. Our hypotenuse is our 5. That's our longest side and our slanted side. Okay, so we are going to keep our 5 squared here. And it doesn't matter which one you replace with 3 squared. Okay, so I'm going to actually do the math here. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. Bring down your a squared. And 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. We want to subtract our 9 to get our a squared by itself. This cancels, and we are left with a squared equals 25 minus 9, which is 16. Okay, and then we need to take the square root of 16. And the square root of 16 is 4. If you don't know that, you can put it into your calculator just so that you can get it correct. Okay, so the first part of this, we needed to find the length of D. Okay, and D is 4, so it's 4 blocks. Okay, so it said how much distance is saved if he takes Main Street, which is only 5 blocks. 5 blocks here, instead of Market and Exchange. Well, now we know that Exchange is 4 and Market is 3. So Market and Exchange equals 7. Well, he saves 2 blocks because 7 minus 5 is 2. So how much distance is saved? 2 blocks is saved if he chooses Main Street versus walking Exchange and Market. Okay, that one was a long one and it was actually a 2-step problem, so be careful about. Sometimes the questions are not going to ask you straight out, how do you use the Pythagorean theorem to solve this problem? You are going to have to use the information that is provided and use the things that you know, like the Pythagorean theorem, in your problem in order to solve your answer in the end. Take your time on these problems. Draw pictures on the side if you need to. Okay? Find the missing measure in each figure below. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. This is our last problem of the day. Okay, again, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's 2. Okay, so we want to find x here, which is the hypotenuse. I cannot draw. The hypotenuse of this triangle, okay? But we don't know the other side length of this triangle either. Okay, so if you'll notice, I'll draw it in red. This side length of the one triangle is actually the hypotenuse of the other. So here is a right triangle, and the blue is also a right triangle. And the hypotenuse, which is this length here, is the missing length of this triangle down the red triangle at the bottom. So you have to find that answer first, and then you have to use that answer in order to find your other answer. Okay, so now we are going to put this in to our formula and solve for this missing length, so then we can then use that to solve the other one. So our 2 side length here, 10 and 10, so 10 squared plus 10 squared equals c squared. 10 squared is 100. 10 squared is 100. So 100 and 100 is 200. So 200 equals c c squared. And then we have to solve for c by finding the square root of 200. So again, I'm going to find the square root button on my calculator. Okay, and it is 14 and 1400ths is what I'm going to round that to. It says round to the nearest tenth if necessary. We can actually round this one to the nearest tenth then. We can round it to 14.1. Okay, so we've got 14.1, and that equals our c down here. Okay, so once you have this information, I'm actually going to clear my screen so I have more room to write, but you can go back to this screen if you need to write these things down. Okay, so we have figured out that this length here is 14.1. Now we are going to use this to find the hypotenuse of this triangle. Again, you're still using the same formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And our a and b are 14.1 and 15. So 14.1 squared and 15 squared equals c squared. So we need to do 14.1 times 14.1 in our calculator. And you should get 198 and 81 hundredths. And then 15 squared is 225. Yeah, 225 equals c squared. So 225 plus 198 and 81 hundredths is 423 and 81 hundredths. And remember, to solve this, you have to get the square root of this answer. Press the square root button. Again, we need to round this to the nearest tenths place. So we get a big, long number, so on. We need to round to the nearest tenth. So I underline the tenths place. I look back at the number behind it. That 8 is enough to bump this up. So our answer is going to be 20.6 inches. And that is our C, which is our hypotenuse. I guess we were actually solving for x now, weren't we? Either way, we were finding the missing measurement. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow.